All right, welcome to the Ice Project. This is, I'm not sure what episode this is. This is actually a retake. Had Travis in the other day, but the audio wasn't where it needed to be, and I feel like the type of story that he has, I didn't want to compromise sort of the audio because I feel like it can help a lot of people. So welcome back to the Ice Project, Travis Young.
Thanks for having me, brother.
So for people who don't know who you are, please give us a little background story.
My name's Travis Young. I am father of two boys, and I own a gym in Tarrant Point, Reborn Fitness Club. I've been a PT now for 9 years. And yeah, that's pretty much my backstory.
Yeah, awesome. So I met Travis through a mutual friend, Brad Takarangi. He introduced us, and he actually reached out to me, and him with one of his PTs come through the office, and we sort of talked about social media, how his business can grow, and it's sort of been sort of like a mutual bromance from then. And we keep in contact. Probably don't hang out as much as we should, but it's been good to have someone that I can go to and ask for help as well in terms of business, because I don't have many friends that are doing what we're doing, even though we're in different industries. So I do thank you for that.
Yeah, same for me as well. Yeah, it's been good having someone to bounce back off over the past, you in a little bit?
I feel like I get asked so many questions all the time, and you just feel like you're giving all the time, and it's good to break it up and ask people questions. You feel that too?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. All right, let's get into it. 19-year-old Travis, PT. Let's go back to the beginning.
Okay, so when I was 19, that's when I decided to do my PT course. Before then, I didn't really have any drive, and it was more so to please the mum and dad at that stage. It was an 8-week course, pretty quick. And then you have your Cert 3 and 4, which was awesome. It wasn't that I exactly, was always drawn towards personal training. It was more so that lifestyle seemed pretty damn cool. But it was something I was comfortable with, coming from a football background, always playing sports my whole life. Fitness came naturally to me.
Yeah.
So once I did that, I started up a little PT studio downstairs of my house, not much, and then some outdoor stuff. So I started with 2 girls, and then 2 went to 4 went to 6, and by the age of 21, me and my mate who I started playing footy with that year, from down the coast, we started a gym in Tarrant Point called Keep It Young when I was 21.
Awesome. I find a lot of people do go into PT as sort of the avenue that you took as well, because they're not too sure what they can do, and they feel like there's an easy entrance point. But I do feel like it does saturate the market. There's a lot of bad PTs out there, isn't there?
Yeah, there's plenty out there, but they get weeded out pretty quick. I think the average lifespan now is only like 6 months.
Of a PT?
Of a PT, it's not long.
Yeah, I told you this before. I've got my Cert 4, so if you ever need a trainer, get me through. But I actually lasted 2-3 weeks, and the reason I didn't like PT or was drawn to it is because you weren't trying to teach them anything. You was just more trying to lift them up all the time, and a thousand excuses within a small PT session. I just kind of got annoyed. So
yeah, that's the hardest part, bro, is trying to solve their problems for you, not only in the training session, but you actually become a life counselor.
Yeah, 100%. So let's get deep early on this one.
All right, bro. All right. So from the age of 21 to say 25, everything went pretty well. Considering 2 young blokes just start up a business. Other than I've talked to you about this before, and you've got your own funny stories about starting up your business. Didn't even know what BAS was.
For people to know what BAS is, it's tax.
Yeah, no one told us about that at school.
No.
I don't know where that was, but So for a couple of young fellas, we made heaps and heaps of errors, but we were so enthusiastic. We had good energy.
What type of errors for a small PT company? What were you making?
All the back end.
So back end.
We're doing cash. We're getting paid cash for the first probably year and a half.
Yep.
We didn't have any systems in place. We had no structures. Like I said, we didn't know what BAS was. We weren't putting money aside for tax.
So after a year and a bit, you get hit with a BAS, you got to back pay the BAS bill?
Yeah, we're like, should we be going and seeing an accountant now about something? And then, we went in, and he's like, so have you been paying your BAS? You've been paying this? And we both had no idea what he was talking about, so that was an interesting lesson.
Bass, like the fish.
Yeah, we had no idea. So everything was going really, really well. It wasn't until 2014 when things started taking a dive for me. It was around the time when I found out I was going to be a dad. Now, it was really hard for me at that time to get my head around it. I thought I was too young. I didn't feel like I was ready. But these things happen, and I was ready in the fact that I was prepared to be a dad. It was just the feeling of unknown, and around this time is when I started drinking and partying a whole lot more.
What kind of unknown, like relationship or financial, or you didn't know who you were at the time, or
all three?
Yeah.
So it was the feeling of I'm aware my relationship was going to be going with my then partner. And then also financially, I was not in a position at all. I was renting out a unit in Cronulla, and I didn't know what I wanted to do. Like I was enjoying doing the PT life and the group training, and we were good at it, but I didn't know
how to scale.
Yeah, not at all. I had no idea about business. Like we were just living like week to week. Doing our challenges, and it was more. I was so short-sighted when it came to the business plan that when it came around to being a dad, I didn't feel like I was close to being prepared for it.
It's not a bigger commitment than being a parent, is it?
Pardon?
There's not a bigger commitment than being a parent, is there?
No way. Your responsibilities, like you're responsible for another little life. You know what I mean? There's nothing like that.
I'm 30 now, and like the thought of a kid still scares me, man. Like I've talked to you about this a lot. Like kids crying on the plane. That's kind of like my pet hate, and I do feel sorry for the parents at time. But I feel like I'm gonna get the worst kid in the world when I do have one.
Yeah, you get calm on for sure. But that's it, man. And I don't think you're ever really prepared. I don't think there's ever a perfect time for a kid, a second kid, a third kid. There's no like, all right, it's the perfect time, especially not your first one as well. And I was 24 when I found out I was gonna be a dad. So yeah, that for the next like 3 months is when I really started to party hard. Now I didn't try cocaine till I was 21. I'd been gambling since I was 18, and I'd always had an issue with gambling. I always knew that, and I always knew that there was a problem. I just never knew what I was going to do about it. Now, cocaine never seemed a problem for me, and neither did drinking. But this 3-month period before Jet was born became a real whirlwind of just benders after benders. Now, to make things a lot worse, one of my mates passed away in this time, and it was the first time I had to deal with death and such a sad situation, and I didn't deal with it very well.
Death is different with like your friends, you know what I mean? Like I had a friend die when we were like 19, 20, that Sunny Fire where, and and I remember losing like my grandparents and like stuff like that, but like that just felt like a little bit different because like you choose your friends, don't you?
Yeah.
And like at that age, you think we're just going to be around forever. So
it's that shock factor, He was away in Europe too, and I remember getting the phone call, and it just rattled me, absolutely rattled me. And I didn't know how to really process it or cope with it, and I turned to drugs and alcohol. So I partied literally up to the day Jet was born. Like he was born on a Tuesday night, and I was on a bender up until the Sunday night prior.
Just what you thought would be a coping mechanism, like do you think like this is my last little chance where I can have a little spurt, or
that's exactly what I was saying.
It's funny what you tell yourself when you're on shit like that, eh?
The excuses you make up in your mind, and that's what I said. It's the last hurrah. This, I'm not going to get the chance once Jet's born. I'm not going to be able to do this. So that was my my excuse at the time, and that's how I felt. That made me feel good about what I was doing, or not feel good, but it sat well with me rather than. I'm just going out and bending every weekend. I was like, it's my last hurrah.
Yeah.
So Jet was born, and that first night when he was born, like I was so wrecked from the bender, not the labour, obviously the men don't do anything. I was so wrecked, but by the time that Jet was put in my arms, I put him back down after 20 minutes, and I fell asleep sitting up.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, and I didn't get to enjoy that moment.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So that's like the first part of, where I was starting to cross moral boundaries where I didn't realize that, that I wasn't there. I was present.
Yeah, but you weren't there.
But I wasn't. And that just doesn't sit right with me. So you'd think after that, having that moment, I would have realized that, it's time to pull up and pull my head in on my dad now. But for the next 2 months, I partied just as hard, maybe even a little bit harder.
to celebrate.
Yeah, that
in your mind.
that wedding, the head went for 2 months. the wedding on the head did go for like 3-4 days. It was that was not a good weekend. And throwing in the mix of all this, I was gambling so much more during this time as well, and not just pokies. I was like going to the races and stuff like that, and I got no idea about horses.
So you're more pokies than
always
on the
pokies,
tab?
always pokies, and always 5 dragons.
I'm a little bit like that. Like, I don't feel like I have a chance on the horses, But
Nah, man.
But when I was into pokies, I'm like, I know what machines are like. I know, I can feel it coming.
This one pays hard every time. Yeah. Silly ass, huh? With the horses, like I was arsey. I got some really big wins, but like I didn't know what I was doing.
Yeah.
But I'd still love to gamble, It was about colours, numbers, and names, Do you know how many horses have got the name Jet in it?
Yeah, true.
Oh, forget about it.
Hey, that's a sign.
Yeah. Feed it. So, the next 2 months continued the way I was. And then, I pulled my head in. I thought, all right, that's as bad as it's going to get, Trav. No more after that, bro. So that was the back end of 2014. Now, 2015, I put 3 months together sober. I started the year on fire. Work was flying. I was on top of it. I wasn't drinking and I wasn't taking cocaine. So the mind was fresh and I was training really, really hard. Now, at the time, I didn't realize it, but that was to fill the void of the alcohol and the cocaine.
Just to justify your actions, like...
Yeah.
It'd be Monday, like, I want to train off the bender. And when you get to Friday, oh, fuck, I've trained so hard, like, I deserve a beer. Is that sort of mentality?
Exactly. So one of my mentality was during this whole period, and it continued all the way through, was that if I partied hard, but I trained hard, it was justifiable.
Just squeeze it back up.
Exactly. It was a balance, right? So if I partied hard all weekend, and I always had to be the fittest or the strongest at the gym. So if I was able to do that...
Wait, are you that super competitive?
Yeah, I can be. Yeah, I can be in that. But that competitiveness it's not so much against the individual. It's more against myself.
Oh, okay.
It's like I'm tough on myself in that way. So 3 months completely sober off alcohol and cocaine, but I was training really, really hard, overtraining, and this is where I introduced prescription drugs into my life. Now this is where I was starting to make these little cocktails. Now, towards the back end of the 12 weeks sober, my little cocktail that I was having every night of Xannies, Valiums, and Endones.
What mill Xannies? The bricks.
The bricks.
2 milligram. Fuck, they can knock you out, eh?
Yeah. So this is my little cocktail that I'd have. So I'd finish work about 7:30. I'd jump in my car, and I'd have a box of each in my car, and then I had another box at home of each. I'd have 2 Valiums, 1 Zenny and an Endo on the way home. So that by the time I was eating dinner, like my head, almost knocking down on the plate.
That dinner seat feels like a lazy boy, doesn't it?
Yeah, remember how good the food tastes as well, bros?
Yeah, we talked about this on the last podcast. It's like when you're on Valium and Xanax and stuff, like the food tastes that much better. And actually, just to run off the back of that, the story I told last time was like, people don't realize this, but I actually had a little bit of similar to you. Like I feel like I had to have Valium. And I was in England at the time, and it was cold and all this sort of shit. And I could get it so easily. So I used to have a couple every day. Ended up getting sent home from training a couple of times. I was a halfback, and I was struggling to catch footballs. And like I was just sort of floating about and stuff. And I remember Christmas Day, like I was probably the only, because like I'm like you, like I'm always upbeat, like I'm always excited. But I remember on Christmas Day I was so down, and I'd just gone through a breakup, and I lived on the other side of the world on my own. It was dark so early, and I just remember my Christmas morning, I woke up and I had 6 Valiums, like swamped them back. I would have had about 4 or 5 the night before, and like I just slept through that whole night. And I was playing for Wakefield at the time, and like I didn't get along with the coach, and he'd come through and he goes like, no matter how well you train, I'll never fucking play you again. And he sat me down in the office and told me that straight to my eyes. At 21, you feel like you're old at 21, but I look back at 21.
10 foot tall, bulletproof, bro.
But I remember that was the first time I ever felt homesick or rattled or anything like that. So I turned to Valium, and I knew that because I knew he was trying to get rid of me. So I knew if I fucked up once, I was gone. Like that was an excuse to get rid of me because I was signed for 2 more years there. And like, on Wakefield, they play on Boxing Day, and I ended up sleeping all the way through Christmas Day. I woke up and looked at my phone. It was halfway through the game. And then just go, where the fuck are you? And the boys go, where are you? And I rocked up late. And he goes, oh, why were you late? And I just go, oh, fuck. Like, I just go, oh, like I've slept in. I'm like, I'm sorry. And I thought I was going to get sacked on that day and I'd been home. But he goes, yeah, you got like one more chance.
Jesus,
Yeah,
man.
but I can relate to the Valium sort of, and the feeling like you do need it sometimes.
Yeah. Well, like because I was training so hard, like that was another way to justify it because I was getting so sore. You know, I was doing 2.5 hour strength sessions. You know, I was
That's a fucking big session, man.
bro. I don't know how I did it. I get.
What are you
bored
doing?
doing
Reps
that.
of 100 or something?
No, it's low reps too.
Oh,
it was
really?
heavy,
Yeah.
man. Just long sessions, and I just remember they used to just drag. But at that time, they take my mind away from, you know, the party scene and life. Yeah. So yeah, that was. I'd have that before I'd have a shower. Then after I have a shower, I'd do the same amount. So 2 volumes of Zenny and an endo.
So you go in 4 milligrams of Xanax. How many milligrams of Vals? Were they 5s?
I can't remember if this is the same time, but I had 10 milligram Vals for a little
Oh,
bit there too.
diazepam.
My mate got them from Thailand at the
Yeah,
time.
they're hectic. They're full on.
Yeah, no, they knocked you for 6. I don't think it was around that same time.
Yeah.
But no, it was a little while.
Yeah.
Ones.
See, had a few milligrams in you.
Oh, right. That was towards the back end. Like it didn't start straight off that way. There's a couple of volumes here
Build
and there.
tolerance.
Yeah, but I built up a big tolerance for it on that, and that's what I said to myself. You know, you can handle a little bit more. And I was always pushing things to the extreme with that kind of stuff. And so I'd do that. Sleep all the way through, wake up the next day fresh as a daisy, like I didn't even train the day before, and I was able to train really, really well. So, you know, I put on like 5 or 6 kilos, and I was big. You know, people thought I was on the juice. For me, I was big. And around that same time, to fill the void as well of drinking, I was gambling heaps too. So I seemed to have a lot more time on my hands over the weekends, and then especially towards the middle of the day, whereas I used to go and sleep all through the day when I was on having the benders on the weekend. So you get up early at 4:30, you finish your classes by 10. I used to go home and sleep. Whereas this time I had all the energy in the world because I was training so much and I was sleeping so well at night that I'd go and gamble heaps as well. And by the end, I had a little system there as well.
Tell us your system.
Yeah, my system, it's genius. So I'd go in with $2,000 cash every time, and then I had 2 cards, a personal and a business card, and I had a $2,000 limit on both of them, so $6,000 in total. And my idea was if I put 500 in a machine, so the first thing I would do is put 500 straight in the machine without even pressing a button. And I wouldn't pull out anything under $1,000. So I had to minimum double my money. Now, as you can imagine, with that system, I didn't win too much, but when I won big. So that was where my gambling situation was going at that time. Although everything else was flying, you know, business was going really well because I was switched on. I was doing more PTs than I ever done before.
Yep.
And I was, other than now, I was the fittest I'd ever been. So 12 weeks of staying off the piss. We had our first round of footy. And got through that sweet, and then the next day I went and did sprints, and I tore my hammy. Now you know, as a football player and as like most athletes, like injuries really affect us mentally. And I was down, man, because I knew that I couldn't train. I couldn't train the way I wanted to train. There's always ways around training when you're injured, but I told myself, you know, that's it, injured. Like, you know, that's all your hard work out down the drain.
It's especially for someone like you. It's essentially taking your favorite thing away from you, isn't it? Like,
yeah,
100%. If you look at kids now on like PlayStation playing Fortnite, like cut the cord on the controller. They're wireless, but take the control away from it, and that's how it kind of feels for like when you're an athlete, doesn't it?
It's exactly right, because it's what, you know, you feel good after you do. You feel good when you're doing it, and it's another form of escape. But I think it's a healthier form of escape as well. It's like meditating, but
yeah, you do feel a lot better. Hang on. Yeah, so the hammies rattled you.
Yeah, so, and I knew it was pretty bad when I did it too, because when I've torn my hammy 4 times before this, and when I did it this time felt the worst. And I went to the physio, and straight away I was a grade 3, 12 weeks. You know, or around 12 weeks they always say that's the higher end. And I just went, fuck it.
They're one of them fucking weird ones too. Like, you feel like you're good, but then once you get past that certain like 75% into a sprint, gone again, aren't they? They're such a weird injury, eh?
Yeah, I've always noticed with my hammies too, like you feel good, but you've always got to wait that extra week or even 2 weeks.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
100%,
Because
yeah.
I came back too early once, and I was running down the sideline, and you see me in the video. I dive, I dive for the corner, and in the thing I go, and I pull my hand.
Score?
Yeah, I scored. But if you freeze it, I'm like, like I pulled it like halfway in the dive, and it's just from if you wait that extra week, they come good. But if you come back that week early, they're no good. So I was rattled, and I just was like, all my hard work's going to go down the drain. I was just about to start footy. I was keen as for the year. I'd never put in. I don't think I've ever put in a preseason like that before. So I felt good. And then that weekend, I was like, I'm getting on the piss again. And it was the first time in 12 weeks, so 3 months off the drink.
Yep.
And I hit the ground running. It was like I never left. Like you would think, oh yeah, you'd get pissed off 2 beers and then like I'd go home. Nah, it was like I never left. I took just as much rack as I would have. I drank hard. I went from the Friday night. I remember I got home on the Sunday arvo. I left my car at someone's house and I had to walk and go get my car on the Sunday arvo. So I was, it's
something like that's not good too, because then you build up like this like stigma around yourself. They're like, oh fuck, how good am I? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
and
my
you
ego.
feel like you can just do more. And, ego, spot on.
Yeah.
You can just do more and more, and like especially taking that little time off. It'd be like coming back to footy and killing it and go, fuck, how good am I?
Yeah,
you know what I mean? And then add like drugs and alcohol. You build up confidence naturally with them, like with alcohol and drugs in you build up confidence anyway. So running off the back of that, rolling straight into it, you'd have thought you were Superman, wouldn't you?
Yeah, I didn't need the drugs or the alcohol back then either, because I thought I was so fit, and just the way everything was going, I thought I was killing it anyway. Like that age, you're young, 10 foot tall, bulletproof. Didn't know what bass was, but still all good. So I went to work on the Monday, and man, I remember just dragging my feet the whole time. And I like you said before, I'm a very high energetic guy, and I was just kicking stones all day long. Got through the Monday. Tuesday came around. I was meant to be on the classes the next day.
Yep.
And I fell asleep on the Monday night and didn't wake up till about 9 a.m. And I have, classes, and then I had PT straight after the classes as well.
Yep.
So I missed all my classes and I missed my PTs. So by the time I woke up, I missed everything. I was like, shit, man, that never happens. And I'm pretty sure that's the only day I've ever missed.
You're quite punctual, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm pretty punctual, but I've rocked up late off from benders and stuff like that to work, but I've never missed a session. And I was like, shit. Anyways, apologise to everyone. Went into work that afternoon, did my normal classes, and I remember I got home and I was absolutely rat shit. So I cancelled all my PTs on the Wednesday, and they got someone to cover for me for the classes, and I fell asleep. I didn't wake up for another 16 hours.
Yep.
So I went and seen the doctor, and he's like, mate, you got chronic fatigue. You've been overtraining, and then plus going and partying for that long, your body's just shut down on you. And I had chronic fatigue when I was younger, and I was 18 as well, and I knew what it was like, but I wasn't.
What's chronic fatigue like?
It's like you have to G yourself up to go to the toilet or go get something to eat. You're laying in your bed.
That bad,
it's
is it?
It can be that bad. Like, and you just the whole time, you just feel like you just need to sleep. Like, when you wake up early in the morning, you haven't felt like you got enough sleep.
Yeah,
you feel like that all the time, the whole time. So, there was like 3 or 4 days there where I just stayed in bed and I was just sleeping hours on hours. Like, you'd sleep like 8 hours, get up, have something to eat, and then go back to sleep for another 3-4 hours, do the same thing.
Wow.
Yeah, and it started really messing with my sleep cycle, because I was sleeping all day, and then that night I was only sleeping a couple of hours here and there. But I didn't know how to deal with that again, and I started having benders, right? So
just to keep you up.
Just to keep me up, and I was having benders by myself, and this next 8-month period is when the spiral had started back in 2014. Now in 2015, or about a third of the way through, it's like a rapid spiral from here, right? So I've got chronic fatigue, and this time of my life is so blurry, and I'm taking heaps of prescription drugs. I'm taking a lot of coke, and I'm still drinking. I'm still going on benders. And then my grandma passed away. Now, just like the last time when I had death in my life, I really struggled with it because I didn't know how to cope with it. I didn't want to talk to anyone about it because, you know, I was too tough. I was too proud, you know. So instead of, you know, talking to anyone and expressing my feelings, I escaped with drugs and alcohol and gambling. But it was so much worse this time because the prescription drugs that I was taking was so high, and then the cocaine that I was taking was so high to keep me up because I still had chronic fatigue. And as well, I was gambling, you know, well over my limits. So, you know, there was even a day when I got off my head on a weekday, and when my grandma was in hospital and she was given, you know, 2 weeks to live. And I went in and seen her when I was off my head. Thank God she was asleep, you know, because I wouldn't ever been able to forgive myself if I went in there and one of the last moments she saw me was, you know, me off my head like that. Not that I was doing anything erratic or aggressive.
Yeah.
I'm quite placid, and when I was on the rack, I was never loud or anything. I was quite quiet. But then there's me crossing those moral boundaries again that just didn't sit right with me. But I was doing these things, and that's where addicts, you know, we want to do one thing, but this addiction's taking over, and we're starting to cross moral boundaries. So, you know, for the next 3 months straight, I was just on bender after bender, and I had a son at the time as well where I wasn't coping with it. I was in love with another girl, so I'd split with, you know, my Jet's mum, and I was seeing another girl, and life really just started spiraling out of control. In 8 months, I got an investor in our business, and he invested 27 grand into our business. That ended up being a poor business decision later on down the track. And then I went to a Oztag tournament, and on the Oztag tournament, so we go out on the Friday, we play on the Friday, and we go out on the Friday night, and I got, you know, took it too far and ended up bendering all the way through. Right, so I got so bent that, you know, I couldn't sleep, obviously, and we had to get on the bus at 8:30. I had a line at 8 a.m. thinking, yeah, sweet, I'll just
a little straighten up.
Yeah, this will make me all good. By half time, I was no good at all. So I got to half time. I remember walking up to the captain. I'm like, man, I'm gone. And just his face, just like said it all. And I just ran for the hills, got on a bus. Got in a cab and went back to the hotel. And I slept all day.
Yeah.
I let the boys down, and, you know, I'm a real boys boy. I've always been in team sports, and, you know, I think of myself as a leader.
It is a bad feeling, letting the boys down.
Oh, like, yeah, especially like that. You know, I'm so competitive, and I want to win for the boys in that environment, and I let them down so bad. And when I did that, you know, I thought, fuck, that's you crossing your moral boundaries again. It's something you're going against what you would normally do, but I didn't want to do anything about it. I was too scared to do it. I didn't want to talk to anyone about it because to me, everyone else is the same as me.
Were you saying it out loud or just all in your head?
All in my head.
Yeah, that's weird, because when I always wanted to quit I reckon I wanted to quit footy about 3 years before I actually did. And one time I did say it out loud. It was just like a release. I'm just like, fuck, like you've said it out loud.
100%,
you actually
man.
mean it. So
and bottling all of it up, like it when it comes out, it comes out.
Yeah.
And it comes out in you know, emotions, crying and those type of things. And that happens to me later on. So 3 weeks later, I go on a tour, right? And you think, I would have learnt from my lessons from what I did. I wouldn't cross those moral boundaries again. That's against what I would do. I went on a tour 2-3 weeks later for Australia. And the first night I played against New Zealand, played really, really well. And we went out with the boys, and, you know, and as I always, I was pushing, let's get bags, let's do this, and, you know, we'll just have a couple.
You sort of like social captain, or?
Yeah, bro, 100%. I was always steering the ship. Yeah. And then so we got the bags, and the boys we carried on, but they went to sleep, and again I couldn't go to sleep, so I told the boys, look, you boys go ahead, and I'll meet you at the game. Yeah. And I just hightailed it out of there. I got my missus to call up and get me a flight home because I couldn't even talk.
Where were you?
Sunshine Coast.
Oh, yeah.
So I flew home, let the boys down again. Right, two tournaments in a row, and mate, that summed up.
So your moral compass doesn't know which way is north at the moment.
Nah, bro, I didn't. I knew what my morals wanted me to do, but my actions were speaking a whole different language. So by the end of that year, I lost the lease to my factory.
Yep.
I had 2 staff members working for me at the time, and they were starting up their own business, and all my clients were going to them.
Yep.
And obviously my relationship with Chloe was, well and truly on the rocks by then. So that was the end of 2015 where I thought, yeah, that's as bad as it can get. And then 2016 rolls around, and I went into 2016 just the way 2015 had intended. I went out, I started an argument on New Year's Eve with Chloe, went on a bend up by myself, and then met up with the boys on New Year's Day. And Chloe came over on the 2nd of Jan and said, look, we're broken up. And she said, just fly to Bali. And I was like, okay. What a great year, 2016. New Year's resolutions, man. Let's go. And I remember I at that stage, I had no job, I had no factory, I had no clients that wanted to train with me, I had no girlfriend, and went and shaved my head because I thought...
The Britney moment.
That's Britney, bitch. I thought people wouldn't recognise me. That was where my head was at. So I went and shaved my head, and I was a little bit fat too because I hadn't been training much in the last few months. And I thought that was as bad as it was going to get again. And I thought, all right, this is rock bottom. You got to work your way up from here. So I was like, all right, I won't drink anymore. I got to get my shit together. And I had a huge debt now to drugs, huge debt, and I owed a lot of people money. So I put 2 months together of staying sober, and I got a factory to rent out, and it was in the best place ever. Not. So it was in the back of a factory complex. At the front of the factory was the seafood joint. It was sexy as, smelled delightful. Then underneath us was a trailer company. And we were upstairs, and it was about 100 squares, the actual floor space. It had like a little office and a shower, which was nice. But yeah, it was in the worst location. It was tucked away.
Imagine like your PT just flogging you, you're sucking in the big ones, and all you can smell is fish.
Bro, we used to send people running up the driveway, and there would be like this like a jar, and it'd have like this blue liquid in the morning, and by halfway through the day, it was halfway full of flies, dead flies.
What a spotter.
It was that bad. I actually spoke to a girl about it yesterday about how gross that was. But 2 months there, and I thought, I'd start a gym, and people would just come back because it was me. I was arrogant. I didn't realize like where my reputation was, what people thought of me, and what everyone could see that I couldn't. I had a drug problem, and I was trying to be a personal trainer and a drug addict. Those things don't...
Burning the candle at both ends, aren't you?
Exactly. So, I thought I did 2 months sober again, and I thought I was doing all right. I was training 3 or 4 people. I was struggling though, and I was still, I wasn't talking about my problems. If anyone asked me how I was going, I was always killing it, sweet, all goods. We went on another Oztag trip. Now, the whole game plan was get through the whole trip until the last night and not drink until then.
Yeah.
Not use Coke until the last night. Now, on the first night, I remember I went and snuck away and had a line. And luckily, the rack was shit because it would have been repeat number 3.
Yeah.
But it was shit, so I ended up being able to go to sleep. And I got through the tournament to the last night. But we had a bender on the last night. And it just like every other time, once I started, I couldn't stop. It wasn't that I went consistently the next couple of days. It was the next weekend. I was back on the bender wagon. So I started.
Bit of a taste for it again.
Yeah, 100%. I think we spoke about last time about the guy from Red Hot Chili Peppers. You got that taste of morphine, and then bang, he was straight back on it. And my benders, like, throughout this whole time, they're not your normal benders either. They're not your Friday to Saturday. Like, they're Friday to Sunday. I'd plan them. You know how organised I am now, right? With what I do, I'd be like that with my benders. Swear. So I used to have a bender bag in my car at all times, Ready to go. It'd have a few changes of clothes. It'd have like X amount of Xennies and Valiums and stuff like that, because I always needed that that stop button when things got too much. And it was in my car all the time, and I was organised. Like I was just prepared. So, 2-3 weeks in a row after the Oztag tournament, and business was failing. I still wasn't with Chloe. I was still a little bit fat, and you know, I just had no answers for the world. And I got an email. And remember at the start, I was saying the investor invested 27K. So we were paying this guy back. And when I thought that, you know, keep it young of that factory ended, and I changed keep it young to keep it young fitness, I just changed it a little bit. I thought that was the end of that saga,
contract, yeah.
right? But me and my business partner at the time, we were in a partnership, so we were personally liable. I had no idea about it. It was only $8,000 that we owed, but $8,000 to me then was, you know, 8 million. I didn't know where it was going to come from. I was making $250 a week. So I got this email, and just like every other time where it came to any problem in my life, rather than trying to solve it and you know, work out the solution, I tried to solve with another problem, which was, you know, drugs, alcohol, gambling. So I went on the bender of all benders. Now, this bender in a snapshot was 4 days straight.
Yep.
Starting on a Tuesday.
Where do you go on a Tuesday?
By the Leagues Club. That was
which Leagues Club?
Sharks Leagues
really?
Club. That's where, you know, a lot of the time was spent. And I was driving over to Randwick, mate. I was everywhere. The difference about this bender, I didn't give a shit anymore. I was doing things that I would never normally do. You know, I'll give you the snapshot, the overall picture first. So it's 4 days, it was 17 bags of cocaine, and I gambled 8K, gone. And I was up the first night too, so technically it's more.
Yeah.
Yes.
So 17 bags on yourself?
No, not just myself, but you know, 90% of them was by myself. I had like a couple mates come here and there, and on the last night, but you know, the 17 was predominantly myself.
Wow. High
High tolerance, right?
Yeah, massive.
Yeah. So went all the way through, but there was something different. I didn't care. I was doing lines in front of my dad's secretary. My dad's secretary is, you know, a 50-year-old lady, and I was asking her to get money from my dad and telling her it was for the business, and you know, again, crossing all these moral boundaries that I don't sit well with who I am.
You can still sense that in you now. It still kind of irks you a little bit, you know what I mean?
100%. Like, I feel sick, like, talking about it. Like, I feel so guilty every single time I talk about it, and so ashamed. And, yeah, I got to the end of the 4 days, and it wasn't that I was high. It was that I was numb, and that was the feeling that I wanted to feel, was that I was numb. Like sitting in front of a poker machine. People that don't know this, when you sit in front of a poker machine as a gambling addict, it's not so much about the highs of the wins. Like that's the bonus, but it's about the feeling of being numb, of nothing mattering in front of you. So nothing mattering except for what was in front of you.
It's kind of like you know, in the mall, and they got those little photo booths, and you can pull the curtains and you jump on with your mates and shit. That's what it feels like.
It's exactly like that, man. And people don't talk to you. You know, you're not asking any questions like, "Oh, how's this? How's work?" You know, it was a complete escape for me, and it was.
What sort of hits you doing? $5s?
Yeah, $4 the max hits on dragons. Whatever dragons I was playing. You know, there was a super deluxe one where you could do $6 hits.
Yeah.
But it was just always max hits.
Max hits.
I wouldn't, Yeah,
like, cause I've done a bit of gambling in my time. You do get a taste for the maxis, and at the start you're like $5 a hit, and then once you get that win on that $5 and the feature comes through, what a feeling, huh?
Yeah, exactly. I remember the first time I played Big Red, and I only put.
That was my game too.
Yeah,
Big Red.
That's your game. I put $20 in a ball. It's so arsey, and I won like 250 on a feature. I was like, oh, I'll play it down, and then I kept going, and I end up getting, I think it's the 5 crows and the kangaroo, 4 crows and a kangaroo. Is that 1,000 a tree?
Yeah, eagles.
4 eagles and a kangaroo, and that's 1,000 a tree.
I think about 500 that.
$10 hits.
Oh yeah, it would be, yeah.
Okay, so $10 hit, and I remember I got 1,000 a tree, $9,000 I won, 9,200. And had all these plans, bro. I was like, all right, what am I going to do? This is a long time before this.
Hated that off in your mind, eh? Yeah.
I was like, all right, I was going to buy a new car, this and that. By the next week, it was gone.
Yeah.
Gone. That was how bad my gambling was. And that's kind of how it always went. It was like, no matter how big the win was, no matter how much I'd win throughout the week, it'd either be gone the next month, the next day. Like, it always came, but it always went just as quick.
It's the thing with chasing money. It's there's always more that you can win, and I found that too, because this is how me and Normie and Chico started. Like, I started hanging out with Normie. We went for a slap one time, and I won 20K in the afternoon. I got 2 house links. It was the most arsiest time ever, and like, you know what it's like when you win, and then they were winning as well, and we're just like, oh shit, how good's this? And that's how I started hanging out with the boys. Yeah, so that was essentially the start of YKTR.
Chico was telling me about that story just the other night.
Crazy.
Yeah.
And they were winning too, and like I was winning like 2K and like trying to suit them and shit just for a laugh because I was up. Like,
Because you just don't care.
yeah.
Yeah. Well, that was a kind of weird thing, especially on that last bender, right? I was winning, but I wasn't getting a high.
Oh,
And it was just like it was more the time that I was spending there was the high of being numb, if you get what I mean. So 4 days, and finally went to sleep, and then my mum woke me up the next day, and it was a Friday. It was Good Friday, 2016, and my mum's waking me up. I'm like, what the hell's going on? Like, I knew my mum was meant to be down the coast. That's why I was able to bend it that long, but obviously my secretary called them up. Got to have a cotton sock. She didn't say that what I was doing. She just said, "Oh, Trav's not well. You should probably come home." So she came home in the middle of the night without me knowing. And when she woke me up, I was just so rattled. I didn't know what was going on. And she kept asking, "What's wrong? What's the problem?" And I just kept saying nothing. Like, what are you talking about? Just kept like deflecting. And then she just finally, she goes, Trav, like, be honest with me, what's the problem? And I turn around and go, I got a gambling problem. And she goes, bullshit. And it sounds like not much, but my mum's like this little Chinese lady, right? She doesn't swear ever. And I was like, whoa, like that. She may as well have said, drop the C-bomb. That's like how I was like, whoa. And I didn't know how to accept the problem. It was confronting me, and the only thing I could think of was to run. So I jumped in my car and...
So this is in the middle of the night, are you saying?
Nah, this is in the Friday arvo. Like, literally, Mum just woke me up. It was 2 p.m. on a Friday arvo. I'd been sleeping, all the way through. And, I drove out to Kurnell. I don't know if you've ever been to Kurnell.
I've been to Kurnell.
So you go then, there's cliffs out there, and I was sitting in my car, and, this is where I was going to commit suicide. So I even got to the point where I sat there and I had a cardboard cutout from a 6-pack of beer, and I started writing, a goodbye letter to my son Jet. Now Jet's, around a year old, and I was ready to leave him, fatherless because of all my actions that I'd done over the past, and that was when I thought, I don't want to live anymore. Now I'd blocked everyone in my phone: mum, dad, brother, sister. All my close mates, but I hadn't blocked Chloe. We weren't together or anything at that time, so I didn't have any reason to. And she luckily called me, and
You picked up.
I picked up, and luckily I did, because if I didn't answer that phone call, I'm probably not sitting here at this telling this story.
So scary.
Bruh, so scary, and it rattles me every time.
Do you remember what you wrote, or was that bit of a blur, or what?
Yeah, it's a blur, but I remember like 2 or 3 lines in it that were like, I'm sorry that I couldn't be the, sorry I couldn't be like the dad that you deserve. Yeah,
That's deep, man.
Almost
got me going.
Yeah, like it just when I wrote it, like, you're in this place where you just nothing.
Just still numb.
Nothing can help you. You just think that you're in it, and there's no way getting out. You're in this big pit, and there's no ladders. There's no chance getting out. But yeah, lucky, like at that time, Chloe called me, and it would have only been moments.
Yeah,
moments difference, but yeah.
That's such a close call. So say if you've just walked out the car or something, do you know what I mean?
Yeah, bro, like,
could have been anything. Like your phone could have been flat, or it's scary, man.
Yeah. Yes, I just.
Hey, Chloe, thank you.
Yeah. So that happened, and Chloe, I went and seen Chloe that night, and I spoke to her, and that's, I realized that's as low as I want to get. I want to be a good dad. I want to be there for my son, but I just want to be a better person. So the next day after that, I went and seen my mum. I went and saw her. My best mate went and spoke to her, and he told her everything. Right, he told her I had a gambling problem, told her I had a drugs problem, and he told her I was taking all these prescription drugs as well.
That's a massive credit to him, because you know what it's like being like an Australian bloke. You don't snitch on the boys and all that sort of shit, and
Nah.
He done
He done
right
me a
thing.
solid,
Yeah,
man.
yeah.
And you know, like the old me prior to that bender would have got up and like got
What you
angry.
doing? Yeah.
But man, he had the tough conversation that I didn't have to have. You know what I mean? I wasn't prepared to have, and I wasn't honest with myself enough to have it. So he went and told her, and mum knew that I had a drug problem, and I got home, and I remember I didn't even get in the house, and my mum goes to me, "Do you want to go to rehab?" And I was just like, "Hell yeah!" And she's like, "All right, you go in 3 days." I'm like, "Yeah, sweet. Where am I going?" She's like, "Thailand."
Wow.
I'm like, "Shit." So
Yeah.
I'm like, "What about work? What about this?" And mum's like, "Don't worry about anything.
Like that. Yeah.
None of that matters unless you get yourself right." So, you know, I got on a plane 3 days later to go to Thai, and you fly to.
How was that? How was that 3 days leading up to that?
Anxious. Every morning I vomited. Every single morning I was just so anxious. And this is another part of the prescription drugs that I didn't get to tell you last time, that the prescription drugs ate away at my mental state. Now, I never experienced depression. I never experienced anxiety. I didn't even know what anxiety was.
Yeah.
Right? But after I took so many prescription drugs, which these things are meant to help you for, I started experiencing these things. Now, you know what I'm like now, right? Yeah. I can stand in front of a class of 30, 40, 100. You know, I can get up and I can speak in front of an open seminar, and I'm fine. I couldn't even walk in a cafe. I had that much anxiety. I was
like everyone looking at me.
The only person I could be around was Chloe. Even my family. I remember my sister's at my sister's baby shower, I had to leave because there's so many people, family, friends there, and I had that much anxiety. This is in that rough 8 months that I was going through, and I was a shell of a person. Now, I never experienced depression, right? And I didn't understand it. And prior to that, you know, my thoughts on depression was so narrow-minded, right? But then going through it myself and then not being able to get out of it, that's when I realized what depression was and what anxiety is. I'm lucky now that, you know, I don't experience those things. I have bad days, but they're very far from those bad days. So yeah, we flew over to Phuket. We got to Phuket, then you got to fly to Chiang Mai. It's about 45 minutes inland, I'm pretty sure, from memory. And then, you know, and it's a third world country, bro. Like, I land, I'm like, this is a shithole. Where am I going? And then we got on the road and we're driving, and it's getting worse and it's getting worse. And I'm like, this is a shitty road. And then we turn up another even more shitty road. And then before I knew it, we were on a dirt track heading up to in the middle of the mountains. Now, I got there and I was super nervous. I didn't know what to expect. I seen, you know, what happens in the movies.
Yeah.
And some of those things were true, some of those things not so much. Now, my one suited me to a T, and it started from the day I got there. So I got there on a Friday night, and the Saturday morning was our training day. So we'd go do Muay Thai, and on that day, you do like 3 different styles. So you do like an open group training thing, and then you go and do Muay Thai. Then you finish it off with group training, like a team thing. Suited me perfectly, right? So I felt comfortable with this group straight away because I was able to show my strengths straight away. So they you know, straight away saw that, and I was comfortable. So that was a really good start for me. And then come Monday was the start of my my healing or my rehab, so to speak. And it's exactly, this is the part that's exactly like the movies, right? So we have our first process group and we sit around in this big circle, man. It starts with, hi, my name's Travis. I'm feeling scared, anxious, and excited. I told you to say that. I always just say I was excited.
Why do you say that?
Because I was excited because I was doing something about it. You know what I mean?
Okay,
and that's what I kept saying. Like, you know, I'm excited, guys. And I think they thought I was taking the piss a little bit. And
Yeah.
a part of me was as a coping mechanism as well, because I was always like, you know, there's always a positive to everything. That's how I always was.
Yeah.
But that's how I honestly felt that way. I was excited because, you know, this is the first time in my adult life where I was actually taking on a problem and trying to working on the solution, not, you know, replacing it with another problem. So yeah, you do that and as soon as it starts an open forum and this kid was sitting next to me and he starts telling his story. Now everyone in the room is 25 and under. I was just 26. And so we're sitting there and we're talking. No, so I was 27. And he's talking and he's telling his story, bro. And it's intense, man. Like it's deep. And he's talking from when he was a kid all the way up until how he landed in rehab. It went for about 15, 20 minutes. And I was like, oh, okay, so this is what you do. This is what we do. So once he finished speaking and then the room went quiet and I looked around the room, no one wanted to talk. I said, all right, this is my chance. I'll tell my story.
Yeah.
So I told my story, bro. And I reckon from the moment I opened my mouth, started crying.
Just a diary of emotions.
Oh, everything that I had was bottling up.
Yep.
Came out in that moment. And I told everyone, and I'm saying things, I'm saying these things that I've never even said out loud. I've never even thought about them before to the point where they're, you know, I've given them a second and I was talking about all these times when I crossed my moral boundaries and how I did this person wrong and how, you know, I was a bad person here. Like I completely opened up. I became transparent to the whole room.
Yep. Did it help that it was a room full of strangers or people similar to you?
And see, that's contradicting where we're like, yes. But at the same time, like, why would you want to open up to a random person? So it's like that weird feeling in your head. I just went, fuck it, go.
Actually, just to bring this back a little bit, so you sit down in a circle, you sort of like, you know, when you sit down, you sort of look around at everyone. Do they look like addicts or do they just look like normal people? Because my perception of it is like the ones from the movies and there's a guy in the corner like scratching his arm and shit, you know what I mean?
Yeah, there are those guys. There was like...
So that's fair representation?
Yes and no. So I was in there there was also a 17-year-old girl there. She's not even legally allowed to drink and she was in rehab as well.
Wow.
Yeah. So, yeah, there was that guy that you kind of looked at and you go, fuck, don't look him in the eyes. He looks shady. But then there was only maybe one other guy that was kind of like that. But everyone else, man, like 25-year-old and under.
Yeah.
Drug addicts. No, that's not what you wouldn't picture most of them. They all had that sadness in their eyes, though.
Oh,
we all had that common theme, that
Yeah.
sadness in their eyes. And so, you know, I let out all these emotions and the weight off my shoulders, bro. Like it was day one, and man, like I could have sworn on that day I was cured. You know, I let it all out, and when I finished my my story, the whole room clapped. I wasn't too sure why, but I found out later on that you had your counsellors would give you challenges every week, and most of them would get the challenge of you got to tell your story to the group.
Yeah.
Now, I hadn't even had a counselling session yet. It was just what I thought. I think that's what set me above the rest when it came to my group, is that I was so willing to, you know, be open and be transparent and own my problems. And so once I got that out in the open, I felt like, it's weird, I felt like everyone accepted me.
Yep.
Right? And there were the first 3 days, man, I was sitting there, right, and I was thinking, I don't have to be here, man. These guys are heaps worse than me. You know, I'm sitting next to ice junkies. I'm sitting next to heroin junkies. And I'm sitting next, you know, there was a 40-year-old guy there at the time. He ended up leaving, but, you know, he'd been addicted to Valiums for 20 years. And I'm sitting there going, it's only been 2 years, you know, for me.
Yeah, the comparison.
Right? And I'm in my head. That was the first 2 days. And then it hit me. Brother, that's you in 5 years.
Early,
that's you in 20 years. You continue down this streak, that's you.
Just warming up, aren't you?
100%. And what I quickly realised that it didn't matter what the story was, whether it was ice, whether it was heroin, whether it was coke, whether it was alcohol. Alcohol was probably the worst one of them all, by the way.
Why is that?
Seems to be the hardest one that people can't get away from what I've seen, because it's so socially acceptable.
Yeah.
Right? So
that's true, isn't it?
And like we've spoken about before, in Australia, like it's like a part of our culture. You know, Australia, everyone gets blind.
Anzac Day,
everyone gets blind. You know what I mean? If you
get a Monday off, fucking get blind on a Saturday and a Sunday. How good?
Exactly. So you got a wedding, you celebrate with alcohol. You got an engagement, you celebrate with alcohol. That's our
baby alcohol. Yeah,
it all comes back. So I think that's where they struggle a lot. Now, where I think I go all right with that is that alcohol is my gateway. Right, it was what started everything, but it was never my go-to.
Be all end all.
Nah, like I was never a big drinker. I love drinking with the boys, but I'll never go and have 2 or 3 beers at the pub.
Is that the Asian in you? Get the big rash and shit?
Oh, I did, actually. Not all the time, but every now and then I get the Asian rash.
I get that too.
Are you Asian?
No, but people always take the piss out of me because I half look Asian sometimes.
Yeah.
And I actually get the rash, but I have to be.
Mine was if I drank just vodka.
Vodka, yeah, vodka's mine too.
Yeah, I like the alcoholics really struggled in there. And I quickly learned in there that that the reason why these guys weren't progressing, right? So like that guy that spoke, it took him 3 weeks to take up that challenge, right? And it's because they weren't ready, you know. And it's hard to you can't make someone ready. They're ready when they're ready. I was ready, man. That last bender, if that doesn't say I was ready, I was ready. And my biggest point of difference was that I was owning everything, right? So a lot of they're young kids, so they're like, you know, it's mom, dad's fault, it's auntie, or it's, you know, it's my cousin's best friend.
It is refreshing when you own everything, eh? Like, you feel like everything's your own. Like Gary Vee sort of talks about, like, everything's your own fault. And when I switched from that mentality into business,
yes,
I like, because I used to like say, the boys, can you do this? And like, if they didn't do it, I'd get angry at them for this. But like, I just take ownership for everything, and I can only half imagine what that would feel like for you, for the situation you've been in.
Okay, everything that I went through in rehab, and this sounds really weird, helps me in business.
Oh, 100%. I do the same with footy.
Yeah, exactly,
I
right?
use footy analogies to translate to business, so I can like tell the boys what we need to do. That's how you just go off your past experiences.
Now, as a business owner, right, you have to own everything. You know, if I walk into my gym and the music's not playing properly, that's my fault. It's not it's because of the internet. It's got, like, you know, it's my fault. I've got to fix the solution. And then once you take away that, you know, take away the responsibility from everyone else and just put it on yourself, and then you just own it and just get shit done.
You feel so much better, don't you?
Yeah. So,
but there's a fine line of like taking ownership and not trying to micromanage at the same time. That's where you got to get to.
I struggled heaps with that when I first got staff on. So yeah, I was owning everything. You know, I never blamed everyone because I knew that I was a direct reflection of my actions. You know, there was no one else that put, you know, the money in the machine but me. There was no one else that made me sniff that cocaine. You know what I mean? There's no one else that made me take those pills. These were all decisions that I made. Yeah, I had things go wrong in my life, but we all do. But I owned those mistakes and knew that the reason I was there was because of the actions that I made.
Yep.
So yeah, after the 28 days that I was in there for, you know, the council would give me 2 to 3 challenges a week. Yep. The last one actually was a heavy one. Every week we would go to a local NA group where
what's that? What's it? NA?
Narcotics Anonymous.
Oh,
so
okay.
like AA, but NA. Geez, I haven't been to one of them in ages. Anyway, so you sit around in a big circle, right? There's about 50, 60 people in this thing, and it's in Chiang Mai. You got people from all walks of life, like America, London, like everywhere. And then this is where you got the dudes with the tattoos all out the neck, scratching in the corner. And my challenge was to read my letter. So I wrote a goodbye letter to my addictions. And I went through it. And I wrote in it was the first thing I did when I got there was write this big ass letter, right? And so because I found verbalizing, like, you know, my problems was amazing. But then, you know, you can't talk to people 24/7. So I used to get out the notepad and I used to sit down and I write down all these things I was feeling. And the first thing I wrote was a goodbye letter to my addictions. And I did it at.
Did you give your addictions a personality, like a persona?
Yeah, so
did you name it anything? Like, do you know what I mean? Like, I feel like some people do that.
I wrote you would relate to it big time because it was like I was treating him like he was like one of the boys.
Yeah.
All right. So I talked about coke and what. No, so I spoke about alcohol, how he's one of the boys. Felt like I was really cool with him, and then I talked about gambling, how it made me feel like I was killing it with money and stuff like that. And then I talked about alcohol, how when I was younger. It was the reason to spark up the social life and take me to places where I wasn't confident enough to be there. You know, I talk like it was like all these things to me, and it was like my best mate, like your wingman, right? All these things like my wingman.
It's that little devil on the shoulder, isn't it?
And that's what I call it. And, you know, I speak to, like, you know, gambling. You know, it's a devil it's a greedy pig that's never satisfied. It just constantly wants more of your money. And then like it's like I'm mates with these guys for 5-6 years, and then I realised that they're not my mates. Yeah. They're not helping me. So then I say goodbye to them. So I'll send it to you. I've got it in my gym. I've got it printed up. And it's on my wall behind me. I'll take a photo. I'll send it to you. Yeah. So I did that in my last week, and I.
So you've enrolled to a 28-day program, and what do they tell you?
So one of the things they tell you just before you leave is that the percentage of people that stay sober for 6 months is only 2%. right?
That's scary, eh?
So scary. You know, I was about to fly home, and so were a lot of the other people, right? And I remember everyone kicking up a stink, man. Oh, like, this is like bullshit. Like, how am I meant to do it? And I sat there, and I remember just being quiet and looking around the room and thinking, 2%. That's me, bro.
Yeah.
That's me. Like, that's I'm gonna be that 2%.
And it almost would have solidified it hearing all those complaints too.
100%, man. 100%.
So you'd be like, he's out. Fuck, it's just me and this dude over
Yeah.
there, this little Thai dude.
Look at him. He looks steely. He looks like he's ready to go. So out of those guys that I went to rehab, I don't know any of them that are sober anymore.
Oh wow, that sucks.
Yeah, like, I don't think many of them even lasted the year. So I got home. Now this is the part where you think, oh, everything's gonna be grouse now. But all my problems that I made before I went to rehab were all sitting there waiting for me at home. It's not like they went away. Like, I still wasn't with Chloe.
Yeah.
It was still broken up.
Was that priority?
Pardon?
Oh, being a father would obviously be the first priority.
Exactly, and I hadn't spent much of my time with Jet before that, because, you know, I was in and out of benders every weekend. So every time I was sober, I was asleep or working. So, you know, I had to rekindle the flame with Jet, and then as well, I was 25K in debt, 25K in debt with drugs. Drugs alone, and I was making about $250 a week before I went. So, you know, I had to pick up a lot of pieces and start all over again. But this time, you know, I had a tarnished reputation. I had people, you know, saying what they thought was going on. You know, a lot of the people were right.
Yep.
But, you know, I wasn't ready to admit. I was way too ashamed. So for the next 3 months, you know, I just put my head down, bum up. And I had this new vision of a gym, right? So Keep Young was now over, and I needed a clean slate, and this is where the name Reborn came in. So this is how it happened, being Reborn. So, but the gym had a different mindset. My mindset had completely shifted from Keep Young. Keep Young was, you know, your superficial gym. You come in, you get big arms, you get six pack,
Just cliche.
Yeah, cliche.
Australian fitness.
Shire, like, it's just it's exactly what
Southern
the Shire is.
Southern
right?
Cross on your back,
Yeah,
biceps.
hard, just straight down the beach after.
Nulla for a coffee.
Hard. So that was the Keep It Young motto, and it worked because it suited a demographic, and it suited what, you know, my lifestyle at that time. But now my mind shift had completely changed, and I wanted a gym that worked not only on the physical side of things but the mental side of things. It is so important what training does for you mentally. You know, we've spoken about so many times, Ice, how much more beneficial your day can be when you train in the morning.
Just efficient. It just flows.
So much
Sort of how you
better.
talk about, like, alcohol was the gateway to all those sort of things. Like, there can be positive gateways, and I feel like exercise is the start of that.
That's a fantastic point. And it just, I genuinely believe that, you know, if you train and you get a healthy mind, it can help you in all facets of your life. You know, not just your physical, like, it helps you with business. You're more switched on. You know,
it's funny. It's funny you say that. The reason, like, because I quit footy and I was kind of like against, like, I was like, fuck, I'm sick of being told what to do, blah, blah, blah. So I didn't exercise for the last year and a half, and then it wasn't until I listened to, like, a lot of business mentors. They go, my business did not take off until I started exercising.
Did you notice that? Like,
yeah.
All the podcasts I listen to, you know, Andy Fazili is the one that I listen to all the time. He's massive.
Pay your dues.
Yeah. He's always like that.
Even Gary Vee, like, he's my guy, and then he goes, I train every day now. I'm just like, shit.
I wrote a blog on it. You know, every successful person or health professional says that, you know, how beneficial physical training is, not just
Mentally.
for physically but for mental. Like I was saying, like, I reckon it helps you in every asset. Like, it can help your business. Obviously, you're thinking clearer, but it helps your relationships. You know what I mean? If you're getting frustrated and over things, that's when the fights start happening. But when you're able to train, you can kind of ease that tension. It doesn't solve everything.
It doesn't feel as bad, eh?
Exactly.
Yeah.
You know, the problems that you're having, they either become clearer or they become smaller in your mind.
Yep.
When you're not fogging. I think especially for me, that training is that perfect, you know, prescription to a healthy lifestyle for me. You know, it's
therapeutic, isn't it?
100%. And it's not like you love the pain or anything. Like, it's more the feeling after.
Yeah.
You know, when it's the satisfaction that you've done something tough and you've got through it.
Yep.
That's what I love about it. And it's not, when you're pushing through those moments, it's not about, I want to feel the most amount of pain. It's you know, that you can get through something hard and come out the other end better for it. And it's similar to what my story is. So I have a non-negotiable 6:45 a.m. train. I'm lucky enough I get to train with, a few of the boys. I've had Chico come through for 3 months while he was off contract, and we get all the footy boys coming through off their pre-season. So, that 6:45 a.m. slot's like my social time. I don't do much on the weekends. 2 kids, and that takes up a bit of your time as well as a business.
There's enough shit talk between footy boys that you feel like you get enough of it
Oh,
anyway.
in 45 minutes, we get 4.5 hours worth of shit talk.
One-liners, just banter. It's good. It's good. It's refreshing.
Groover, Luke Lewis, he's the king of banter,
Yeah.
brother. He's on 24/7. So I came out. I had this new vision of where I wanted the gym to go, and I was focused down that mindset, that lifestyle style. And I was like, all right, I'm gonna base it around an 8-week challenge. Now I had no trainers with me at the time. I had 2 boys that I was interested in. I was playing footy with them at Gaimir. And I hit up Spence and I hit up Willow, the 2 boys that came on with me.
Yep.
I'm like, all right, boys, let's try and get 30 people into this challenge. And they're like, yeah, sweet. And we did our thing, and we ended up getting 60. Right, and it was a change. It was like that marketing thing we were talking about the other day. We weren't just selling the biceps and the 6-packs. We're talking about a lifestyle. We're talking about becoming a better person. And it just seemed to work. We got 60, and then the next challenge rolled around, and we got 80 on the challenge. And it was still in this little factory behind the seafood joint, above the trailer place. So we were doing really well. Now, to put it in comparison to where Keep Young was, we were open for 6.5 years, and our best we ever got to was 110. I was at 110 in 6 months.
Wow.
So I made the decision then, like, I've got to, capitalize on this momentum, and we went and got a bigger factory. And the factory that we're at now, it started at 450 squares, but I've ended up putting another mezzanine in it.
Yep.
But we got to 200 clients by the start of January of 2017. So
High retention rate, that's key for a gym, isn't it?
yeah, well, it's hard. Retention's hard for gyms like mine where it's such high intensity. But yeah, we're considering how high of numbers we have. Yeah, we have a really good retention rate. So you get 200 members within January 2017, and now we're into 2019 where we're upwards of 300 now as well.
Wow. So you have a ceiling on how many you can go to?
350, and
So you're almost there.
yeah, we'll hit. I reckon we'll hit that by the next challenge. Is our goal is 350.
Sick.
Yeah, so it's a life's completely changed, and it's those things now. I live my life by my morals. I kept saying before, I kept crossing these moral boundaries. I kept doing these things that didn't sit right with me, but now, I've spoke to you about this before. I live my life in a lane. So everything that I love is in the lane. My legacy, my career, my sons, Chloe, my health, my fitness. That's everything I love. It's a small amount of things, but there's more. But everything that's outside of that, like drugs, alcohol, gambling, girls, like all these things that can be a negative impact in your life, I don't fuck with it. I don't touch it. I eliminate it out of my life. A big one is the toxic people. You know what I mean?
They're worse than any of those things.
Man, they're so draining.
Speaking of gateways, bad people, man. And I've talked about this a lot, and a lot of successful people talk about it. They're like, every year, like, look at your circle of friends, bring someone in, get rid of someone, yeah. And it doesn't matter if, like, it could be family, that's the scary thing, eh?
That's a sad thing. Yeah. And a lot of times it is, because, not always family members are, proud of you for your successes. They can be jealous or, those types of things. And bitching, it's so toxic too. And I don't understand. I wrote a blog about it. Like, a lot of people, they get so caught up in these bitching things, and they realize that they're getting so torn up about something, but it doesn't affect them.
No.
Right? They're talking about John and Sally.
Yeah.
That what they're doing, and it doesn't affect anything that happens in their life. So it's just about, focusing on what you can control. Like, you can't control what these two do. You can't control what that happens over there. You can't control what you can't control what Normie and Chico do.
No.
You've just got to focus on what you can control. And that's another thing, like the ownership. Once you realize that you can only focus and control what you do,
yeah,
then everything becomes easier.
It does, eh?
Because you just focus on you.
And like a lot of people see me, and like, because I put myself in front of a camera and I can fucking talk forever, but they don't realise like a lot of the time I'm in this office on my own, and like I do a lot more listening than I do like talking, and they just see me hanging around with the boys and that, but like I'm in my lane. Like, I love being in this office. I just love working my ass off. But because I talk so much and on thing, but the rest of the day I'm quiet. I'm on podcasts.
You say that, don't you? Because you come across and you got that quiet out. Like you're out there, but you like your own time.
Yeah, like I always tell my girlfriend that like I'm more introverted than extroverted. And she goes, "Shut the fuck up," because I'm comfortable and like I could talk in front of 300 people on stage, and that would not bother me one bit. And like when I'm blind. Like I love like talking shit to a bunch of people. I can meet people really easily. I could travel on my own. That wouldn't bother me. Like I'm traveling on my own tomorrow, and I'll be in Hong Kong on my own for 2-3 days, and I can go out and meet friends, and I'll make friends. Sorry, and but yeah, there's a perception of me that I'm really super outgoing, but I'm like you. I'm podcasting. I sit at my desk. I do my work, and I just listen.
Yeah, when I work, I like to have everything like in a certain way too.
I'm getting there. We're gonna get Travis back on the show later. He's, according to himself, a master planner.
We'll let you guys decide that one.
Yeah, and he's definitely helped me out because when I moved into a business coming from a football background, I had a mentor, and he goes, "You're a footy player. You only think a week at a time." He goes, "What's your goals for next week?" And I was like, "Fuck, I don't know." Yeah, and it was so true. And then we've discussed different techniques we use about the time diary, actually timing yourself. But we'll get into a little bit more of that later because I feel like it's a whole nother podcast. We're both Beacons, Anthony Frizzello, who's got the powerless, which is my sort of starting point.
Yeah, me too. I've like gone into my own little style, which I'm going to take you through next time I come in.
And like everyone sees my to-do list now, and they should be sponsoring me. Officeworks, who's that? Jay Burrows should be sponsoring me, because people go through and buy them. And they say they're so much more effective, and it's a whole nother discussion for another time.
Yeah, 100%. But that quickly going into that short-minded kind of thinking and goal setting, that's the difference between, you know, like a good business as well, is if you're thinking about the quick fixes like we spoke about, that's when your business struggles. And that's what Keep It Young was. It was about getting as many people as we could in for the challenges and then not, you know, putting too much work into the actual challenge, like writing the programs like the day before they're done, or even like as they're doing it. Like, you know, now we run our challenges and the programs are written for the next 2 months. They're already there. But we focus on getting people in. We actually lose money on our challenge tickets, but we put so much more effort into the 8-week challenge, because if we give those people, get them a good result, then they're going to stay on with us for longer. So then everyone wins. You know, they're getting what they deserve, and as well, we're giving them the right, you know, the right procedures, the right systems and the structures to follow.
That holistic sort of bit of everything, a bit of mental, bit of nutrition, bit of exercise.
Rather than just come in, get and we'll try and give you a 6-pack. You know what I mean? That kind of just come in and do a challenge where we want people to really enjoy their time and actually make, like I always say it, I hate a challenge mindset. You know, there's a start and there's an end, right? I try and teach people that it's a lifestyle change. You know, what you do for the next 8 weeks, we want you to try and put into your life for the rest of your life, so it's sustainable. Because what's the point of losing 10 kilos and putting 12 kilos back on the next week?
I'd feel like you'd be the type of guy, and I'm like this as well, because I give away a lot of our information for free. They're like, how do you do this? I just tell them, because
straight up.
But you'd be the type of guy that you could train someone for 8 weeks, and like they never come back again, but I've learned the skill set that I need for the rest of my life, and that's a win for you just as much as money in your pocket, isn't it?
Oh mate, it means so much. Like I had a girl talk to me about it yesterday, about how much like, you know, just I write these blogs every Tuesday, how much they help her out, you know, change her mindset, and then you often get the messages like, you know, how I've changed people's lives. Yeah, it's crazy because of the gym that I've created, and that's the moment like that you do this for. You get that feeling in your stomach, that warm and fuzzy feeling. That drives you again. You know, to you know, every time I see someone walk in the door, it's like, oh, how can I help this person? Yeah, and who do I need to save?
We've had like similar stories to that, and like we've talked about before, it's just completely different scenarios where you like you're around health and fitness, you can genuinely change someone's life, but like we're like a clothing brand, and like, because we put so much content out there, and I've spoke to you about this before, where we've had people like quit their jobs, start their own businesses. They'd be tradies, they'd be like everyone. We've had like over 30 to 40 people start clothing companies because of us. I've had about 20 people start vlogging. People want to start podcasting now, writing. Yeah. You were one of them. And like, just to think you can have that sort of positive effect on someone just by being yourself and telling your truths and self-awareness and just being transparent. It's a crazy feeling. And I remember everyone used to say like the best thing in the world is helping people, or like like service to other people is your rent while you're here on earth. Well, you hear all those things, and like when I was in footy, I said, fucking shut the fuck up.
Bro, I'm like, what are you talking about?
Yeah, and we get people come through go like, your clothes are too expensive, or like they're not my style, I'll never buy them, but I love coming home watching your vlog, and it makes like me and my partner laugh, and that's like I get that makes my stomach drop. If someone buys a t-shirt, it's cool. Like, you get money in your pocket for your business, but like that shit, that's what I'm chasing. That's what I'm chasing.
And I love one of the things that's always drawn me towards you, Ice, is your authenticness. It's just always everything you talk about is authentic, and I love. Like when you have those problems where there's people, you know, they send you like, oh, you know, remember that dude, he didn't know how to wash his hat.
He was sweating. He was sweating in his hat, and
it's an issue, Bar. You gotta fix that. Yeah. But you know, you own those things, but you own it in your own authentic way. That's why people gravitate towards you. People read through the bullshit. You know, they see through it, and eventually, like back then when I was in Keep It Young and I was trying to be this person, I was putting on the mask. They can see it. They can see it, and they want to get away from it. But now that I'm authentic, I'm genuine, and I really want to help people. That's why I genuinely want to help people.
You're not sales orientated.
Yeah, people will gravitate towards that. And if your product's right or your service is correct, then the money will come anyway.
That's it.
Just got to focus on the product and the service.
That's it. All right, we'll wrap that up there. It's close to an hour 20.
Jesus.
Yeah, it goes quick, doesn't it? So people want to find you. Where can they find you?
At Reborn Fitness Club on Instagram and Facebook, and then my Instagram is at TravisYoung06.
You gonna do guest speaking or that sort of stuff moving forward, or what?
I've just done a presentation course, so it's something that I want to try and get into. I feel like my story can help so many people. It's definitely something that I want to get into soon.
Just to give Travis and his gym a little bit of a wrap. Chico's been going there sort of every day, and I talk to Chico and Normie. But Normie, here's the selling point. Anyone that's watched our vlogs know what Normie's like. He can complain. He could win the lotto and find something to complain about. But he has taken a few Reborn classes, and he said they're all time. And you get a lot of footballers going in as well.
Yeah,
and I think that's a credit to yourself, because they're getting like paid professionals that have been headhunted trainers, and they're still coming to train with you guys. And I feel like that's a credit to Reborn and yourself and your backstory and the gym you've been able to build. So
cheers, my brother.
All right, thanks for jumping on the show. We will get him on again, talk about master planning, goals, Andy Frizella. Thanks for coming.
Cheers, bro.
Later.